right, so thanks for getting together, and in between this week and last week, I'm sure that you had an opportunity to do a little more reviewing, hopefully. And also, we want to thank Laurie for literally putting together another synopsis that brings us up to date. But to follow the proceedings, you all received a copy of the minutes of the meeting of November 9th. So I'd like to dispense with that, make a motion and get that covered.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Approving the minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
seconded.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
nobody opposed, so that's good. All right, so if I have the numbers correctly, we started with $6,083. And last week, we agreed to set aside $2,150. And so that would leave us, because we need to be fiscally responsible, that would leave us with $3,933 to work with this evening and go back over our maybes. And there were a number of things that I said I would follow up on, and I did. And I thought, based on a question that Donna had about the money we put aside for the Lions Club for their literally their educational program, the animal meet and greet, that was the application 11006. Before we start at the beginning, I thought I'd tell you what input I got from Joyce, and specifically for that grant, not the other grant that pertains to the music group. So when I spoke with her, she said the reason they didn't come last year is because it was iffy until kind of a late period. And when she reached out to them and said, okay, we're a go, they had already booked something else for that day. That was the reason they didn't come. So I said the inclination of the group is to take that $733 and change whatever the amount was, and then add to it the $736, and then add to it another $344
From the 100,000.
from the grant that they asked for this year, which was at 1,080. So I just said, this is what we're thinking about doing, and she said, that'll be fine. So
The only
if-
caveat to that, Bill, did you mention that she'd have to submit 2 requests?
a double invoice, that's correct. Would that be right?
Okay,
A double
great.
invoice? Yeah,
And they'll
Mhm.
get 2 checks, that's all.
correct. Yep, that'd be fine.
Excellent.
So
Can
Okay,
I
so-
just ask a question? Iffy, what was the iffy? Was it weather or was it we weren't getting back to them? Because if it's weather, we're never going to win.
no, it was literally whether or not field day was going to take place because of COVID. And so they weren't sure about that until sometime in June. So once they were sure it was going to happen and Joyce reached out, that's when the group said, I'm sorry, we've already booked for another. And that's when they reached out to the reptile group. And that was going to be sort of a backup, but the reptiles could only come if there was the temperature warranted it and so on and so forth. So the bottom line is the money didn't get used. And I asked Joyce if we could count on this year. And exactly what she said was, as long as we let them know early enough. So that's what we would accomplish by giving the okay for using the 736 from last year and then 344 from, in other words, we would grant them of the 1,080 they asked for, 344,
Mhm.
and then we'd have
Hmm.
X amount of dollars left over. So what are your thoughts on that?
I like it.
Yeah, I think if I hit continue here, we'll be okay, right? Because we have a
I
thing,
don't know.
we'll find
Yeah.
out. Okay. So we
Do
had
they
something
have-
else.
Do they have a breakdown? I just want to review the breakdown again, because I didn't view it totally heavily in terms of what the breakdown on their money was. I mean, I think it's fine. You can tell by my tone, I'm still a little irked that they were just like, well, you didn't, I just, I don't know what their communication was with them and Joyce.
And,
Or if they're just kind of, I think what I'm saying is, are they kind of double dealing, or not totally in good faith? I mean, if they get a better offer, are they gone again?
no, this is if we grant the money, then she would reach out and literally book them for this year. And part of it last year, if my brain recalls, is we didn't give them a full amount. We reduced them.
No, we didn't.
No,
No.
we gave them the 7, whatever it was,
And that
7:30.
may be what Sarah's driving at. Did
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
ban is, or was the Lions Club going to supplement what we gave them to make them whole?
Their response to that was, perhaps we can do it with a smaller number of animals. So they were going to augment what they originally planned on bringing. But if we grant them the full 1,080 based on last year and this year, then I believe that they would bring their full complement.
In the program, according to their application, it says some of the animals they're using are rescue animals. And children will learn about the importance of caring for and being responsible for their animals, which is a good thing because, most kids want a pet for about 2 weeks and then they're done with it, But says showing affection to animals is a great way to encourage feelings of confidence and security in the kids. The organization involved are first and foremost rescue centers, taking in unwanted and uncared for animals and finding homes for them, or providing a safe, permanent environment for them.
Donna, do you have handy anything about how much they asked for last year?
I think it was closer to 1,500.
I think
Right.
it's
Even
smaller.
like half, right? This might be a different program too, and because I thought Joyce had said they were exotic animals that were going to, like emus, and that seems to ring a
Yeah.
bell. So this might be a little bit different program. But I thought it was from Bolton as well as last year's.
And the rescue animals
Application.
could include exotic animals,
Could,
because oftentimes people cannot handle those and they give them up.
so yeah, I think we only funded them half what they asked for last year.
Mhm.
Mm. I don't know.
Okay, so how would you like to move forward on that one?
I think the $344 is fine. If they were asking for more, I would get a little bit, I want more details, because I still think they kind of left us a little high and dry. But I'm perfectly okay with the 344 and interested to see what they bring. And they're doing field day or?
Field day.
Field day,
Not the fair. Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Ladies,
I'm gonna go, okay.
I'm
Sarah,
okay.
okay,
Yep.
Donna,
Oh, I'm fine with
Okay.
it, you know.
that's it. So we're going to encumber $344 for them. Okay, so now I think the best way is to go back at the beginning of the list and go down the list. And so the very first was Matt York, Songs and Stories, The Highwaymen. They were asking for $650. We gave them a maybe last week. Any more thoughts or input on that? And I know that we're trying to have a few things at the senior center, have a few things at the library, have a few things at fair, and have a few things at field day. And I think that's good. I think that's the way it should be. And so factoring in that they were willing to do it at the library, senior center, those are the two logical places. Because when we get to fair and field day, music is going to be taken care of, and I'll get to that when the time comes. So that was a maybe at 650. What's the update?
From my point of view, I'd be okay, but if we changed it down more towards 400 and took out the 250 for travel and whatever else he had, travel and space rental, that was part of his fee, which added to the 250. And I think he said he'd be willing to eat those anyways. So I'd say 400 would be a more reasonable amount.
Okay.
I had a question about, we've got a couple yeses that we didn't allocate the dollar amount to, and I think because we had outstanding questions. So I was wondering if we wanted to do those first and then we'd have a remainder for all the maybes.
Good point. Good point. So I can do that.
Okay,
And that would literally bring me down to Rebecca Midas. That would be 8841. And that was the country western band.
yeah,
I reached out to Joyce on that also. And, you know, she has to remain reasonably objective regarding this. And I said that a couple of our members had attended last at the event on field day and really enjoyed it. And so we are considering their grant proposal. So my two questions were, if we did not fund it for the full amount, what would happen? And she said, well, I can't speak on behalf of the Lions, but I believe that if we needed to, we could pick up whatever we didn't fund. So that was the input. The second question I asked her was, actually two-part question. If we went along with funding them, would they be the only group? And she said, yes, they would be the only group. And the other part was how long did they play? And she said, 11 to 3.
Wow.
With obvious breaks. But so we're getting a pretty good nut for that because a lot of
Yeah.
our programs are an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Mhm.
So that is a factor. And then I asked her one more thing as I'm recalling these, and that was if in fact we had another musical related group, that was a ukulele guy who was there at the fair last year, would she coordinate it in two ways? Number one, not put him right next to the bandstand, so therefore be drowned out. And that at the fair, he was way off to the side, and therefore the band at the fair didn't impact. And I also said, could we also choreograph it so that if in fact he thought he needed quiet time to do it, could we work it out so that he could do his thing in between the sets and stuff of that nature? And she said yes to all of the above. And that was that they would probably do the 4 hours. She'd be happy to put anybody we needed spaced out in an appropriate location and so on and so forth. So that was sum and substance of my feedback from Joyce. So, and that was, they were asking for $800. So, okay. I turn it over to you guys. Yeah.
I would say to do it for the 800, but let's see as we allocate through the night, I mean, if we are $200 here or there, that we could go to 600, but I think we should allocate the 800.
That was my thought exactly.
My only thought was maybe the 600, so we'd have more for the others, but I can go either way, so.
And we could do it that way. We could say, give them 6, and if we have money left over, we can go back and give them more. How does that sound?
I'm fine with that too, because it sounds
I'm
like the
fine with that
Lions.
too. But I mean, we don't have an awful lot of money. We have an awful lot of maybes. We're gonna have to,
But
Really?
that was that
that was a
800.
yes, yeah.
That was, yeah, but we didn't put any money
No,
aside
we
for them
didn't.
yet,
No,
like Sarah's pointed out.
right, we have 3 of them. We have no money put
Mhm,
aside
yeah.
for.
Okay,
And once we get through that, we really have to do some
Okay.
slashing.
okay. So for the time being, we'll consider 600 for them.
Mhm.
Okay. Good, okay, time being. And going along to the other ones that we put in the yes, but didn't allocate, that's a good way of doing it. Let's go with the listening center, the youth enrichment program. They're asking for $1,000 and we've funded them in the past. But we talked about the numbers of people, Hubbardston youngsters who are serviced and served by them. And Sarah kindly sent along something today that showed that they are still running programs and they are acknowledging our contribution to that. So I thought that was a good thing. And I can say that in all of my interactions with them, if I've asked, they've delivered. And they've supplied me with documentation, et cetera. What did we give them last year?
600 maybe? Does that
Anybody
sound right?
remember? We gave them
Oh,
last year.
hold on.
I don't have that. I mean, I can grab it in a minute, but.
Might be in my other book. Hold on.
Yeah, we had more money to throw around last year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's see, we actually gave them $933 last year.
Ah.
Oh,
In fact,
wow.
we started with less and then we
Oh.
added some on because we had, in Sarah's words, more money to throw around.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the 33 bucks we found somewhere else and
Okay.
tacked it on.
So based on the fact that we have much more to review and many more maybes, what are you thinking?
I think maybe 800. It's 200 less than they've asked for, which is the same that we did for the country western band. So that might be, and that gives us a little bit to look at our maybes.
I was thinking along those lines, and again, I'd be, if we needed to slash, that would be someplace I think we could slash again a little bit. So
Okay.
I would say start with the 8 and let's see where we go.
I was thinking lower, just because it's all really good stuff. I don't dispute any of that. It's just their numbers are really low. I was thinking more like 500 or 600.
Donna?
I don't know. The figures that we had what, 16
16,
kids, 16 altogether. It's really not a high amount for what,
16 what?
16 participants.
Were served. Hubbardston.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, which is not a lot.
Mhm.
I don't know if it, this year maybe the programs are different and it attract more kids.
I mean,
Let's
last
use
year
the
was a
same
weird
philosophy
year.
that we did with the country western. Why don't we start with 6? And then if we have money left over, we can up it.
That's cutting them an awful lot, though. That's cutting it almost in half.
Yeah, they have, I know they have other sources of funding.
That's true.
And I think in the past, we haven't, I think like 2 years ago, I don't think we gave them, I think last year was kind of a banner year because we just didn't have as many applications.
I know, Sarah, you went to one event and you said you had a difficult time parking. You went in for a little while and then left. It was, you remember that?
Me?
Yeah, you went to one event, I think, in Barry.
But it wasn't that. Was it-
No, I
Was it
didn't
Irish
go.
something
No,
or
that
other?
was the Polish club. That was the
Irish?
Polish club thing.
Right,
Okay.
I went to the Irish thing, but
Irish,
that,
sorry.
yeah, and they're not there this year.
Uh,
I've never been to anything at the Listening
Okay.
Wellness Center.
I have, but it wasn't any of the children's programming. I went to they have a yoga studio and I've been there a couple times.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay. In order to get moving, why don't we start with the 6th and then come back and visit that again? So, all right.
Everybody's okay.
All right, and then the last, which was on the yes list, but we hadn't decided, was the Hubbardston PTO. And that was the African Arts and Education. And they were looking for 3,000 long, as it said in the, when I'm dealing with people, 3,000 long. So well, are we keeping a total of where we are now?
Right now, we have 2389
Okay,
left
so
to grant.
I think we're all in accord that we'd like to see it happen. And it's just a matter of, I don't know, did they say if we didn't give them a certain amount of money, they would find other funding source?
Yes,
They
they
said they
said the
were
PTO
committed.
was,
Were they funding them? Yeah.
they said the PTO, that's who they are, would find the funds, it sounded like.
Mhm, yeah,
But we're talking about, our local kids here and all ages in the school program.
were they gonna do it K through 12? In other words, not only at the center school, but also at
I
Quabbin?
think it's
No.
K through
No.
5 now, right? Not even the
It's only
6th
central
graders.
school. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think they planned on introducing it both at center school and at Quabbin?
No,
Just
Center
center
school.
school.
no, I
Okay,
think it
I
was
got you.
the center school.
Mhm. Okay,
It does say the PTO is prepared to help cover the cost if the amount awarded is less than the full amount to fund the project.
well, it's going to be.
I guess I thought this was a good place where we could dump if we did have extra money, could put it, as opposed to some of these other places where we're saying we could bring them up. I thought, this is such a high amount that we start with something, but we would hopefully have, I don't know if we would have more money to give to it. Like, say we say 1,000 to begin, or 1,500, and 1,500 is a lot for us. I don't think we've ever granted anybody
A lot.
$1,500.
And
Um,
I don't mean to be a pessimist, but for this type of program, I'm guessing there's other funding opportunities out there and that schools are probably somewhat mandated to bring in a program like this at this time. I would be surprised if they couldn't find other funding to help them besides like making kids do a fundraiser or something like that. I mean, I would feel lousy if to get this program here, kids had to like sell candy bars or something like that. But I would guess there are other avenues for them to pursue for funding. That would be my guess. And that the school may have other funding available. It may be like the library that the PTO has been tasked with it, but the school may have funds for this.
Any other place that they've asked for money?
Um,
I'm asking Donna to look, because a lot of the grants
I
will
don't-
say other places they've asked for money. And I don't know
Yeah,
if this one
I
does.
don't know if they did. I mean, I would be interested at this point, I would be interested in like the 750.
Okay,
and-
so we have a 750 and we have 1,000 to 1,500 range. Sarah?
I had 1156. which will, which with my very fancy math will get us at the round number we need to end at if everything else we do
Oh.
is a round.
Right.
Major, huh?
I mean, just based on the number of kids served, I mean, this is serving just a huge number of kids, which is great. And I mean, I suppose if you're looking at the listening center, that's $600 for maybe 20 kids.
Mm.
And this is, so I would be in favor of reducing the listening center a little more and then going up on this request to like $1,000.
Okay. Donna?
I can go along with that. Still, again, it's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of
But-
money.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot. of money.
so my thought is based on the range that you've given, that why don't we start with 1,000 on that and then go back if it warrants it. So unless there's opposition, that's what I'd recommend is $1,000.
Okay.
So we did have 3 that were yeses, but we hadn't put aside the money, so that's there was 600, 600, and 1,000, so that's 2,200. And then
And
we
then the
talked,
344 one.
and the
Yeah.
344, exactly, yeah. Okay, Donna, you with us?
Yeah, I have 1389 for a balance.
Okay, 1389 remaining.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I'm going to jump back up to the ones that we had put the maybes on. And so now we go to Edward Cope, and that's the impromptu magic for camping at the Hubbardson Library. And
We didn't finish York, did we?
No.
um,
No.
no, yes, we didn't. No, you're right. We didn't.
Hello. Hi.
Mhm.
Sorry, dog is here.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi,
Okay,
go
yeah, we
back.
didn't finish York. So what do we think about the highwaymen?
So I looked at all of the maybes as a group. And I looked at how many kids programs we have. And thank you again for preparing this amazing spreadsheet versus the other, populations that we want to make sure we serve. And I thought that this was maybe a way to prioritize. So what I did was I wanted to hear if we found out any clarifications about the veteran program, because that was a big amount. And then I thought we could forego completely, because we are about to run out of funds, the first 2, the Matt York and the Ed Cope, and then choose between the David Malouf or the Davis Bates, because all of those were serving children and were pretty covered there. And that would perhaps give us an ability to fund, depending on the veteran one,
Yep, mhm.
3 out of the 7 or however many it is.
And, okay, I'm going to jump ahead again because I think it will give us a better view of the maybes. And that is going right down to Greg Maycheck. And so I contacted Chris at the library. I had multiple questions for her. And as always, she's extremely good about getting back to me and so on and so forth. And I asked her why the pastel painting had dropped in population, so to speak, from over 20 to 8 or 9, and then the most recent one was 7. And she blamed it, the last 2, entirely on COVID. She said, not only COVID, but people afraid to be out with, in a group, in an enclosed area, and so on and so forth. And I expressed kind of my own input, but also yours from last week, and maybe it was a pause for the cause. We mentioned maybe it would be 1 year we could pass up on this And she said, okay, if you do, I'm going to fund them. So if we did not fund Pastel at all, it'll still happen. And the library is prepared to underwrite that. When it
That actually
came,
makes me feel good.
okay, yeah, good. So if
Yeah,
nobody
if I
objects to
could
that,
just respectfully disagree with Chris. The first year I went was like 30 plus people. The room was jammed. The second year I went was before COVID, and there were 8,
mm,
including me.
yeah,
So
she may have said
to say that
COVID
it was
contributed.
entirely COVID is not entirely true.
So we can say we're going to pass on
Mhm.
Pastel.
Mhm.
I'd go with a yes on that, especially since there is an outlet for the people who would want to take advantage of it. It's going to happen. So we
Good.
can put that money towards something that might not happen without us.
Okay.
So I'd be
Good.
very comfortable skipping on it this year.
Okay, it's done.
Agreed.
Now, input regarding the places you go, the summer reading performance. And I didn't find immediately, he mentioned that there was a letter of support from Chris. And I didn't find that at the start, but then Donna found it. And by that time, I had already written to Chris and I said, I know that you were, we were told you were in support of it and you wrote a letter in support of it. But I couldn't find the letter. And so by that time, Donna had found the letter for me and Chris had sent me a copy of the letter. And she is very high on that program because she felt that it really kicked the summer off well. And that she, once again, it's going to happen is what she said, whether or not we help. But if that happens to be the only one that, we have the Edward Cope. If that happens to be the only one we have for the library, I do want to support our library program. So that was the input from her on that. And then, let's see, then I have input on David Malouf also, and I'll give you that. And our question about him was, and that was the ukulele. And he said he'd be whatever we decide. He said he'll do whatever we want, wherever we want. So whether it's an entertainment session where he just gets up there and plays away for an hour and a half, or it is a combination of entertainment and a workshop, or it's totally a workshop where he has a bunch of kids, people, he's willing to do it. So I respect that flexibility. And my immediate response is that if it were not at a public venue, such as Field A or the fair, that would reduce the numbers. And if he were to do it at the senior center, he would have people that would kind of enjoy it, and that might be his entertainment part of it, and that would be it. But generally, the senior center is going to serve 15, 20, 25 people. And I guess in the back of my head, I thought that if he were at the fair or the field day, and he could attract enough younger people, that if we had just one person that as a result of that picked up an instrument and started to play it, that I think that we accomplish something in that regard. So the long-term possibility is, in my opinion, greater than if it was, I don't think that the people at the senior center are going to pick up the ukulele and start playing it after this. Could be wrong. but that's my.
But I thought
thought.
it would be a different program if it were at the senior center.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
and
be
he
the
would, he
ukulele.
would do whatever we wanted. And if I would certainly ask Claudia what she thought about that. Just as, what was the other one we were gonna do at the senior center? Oh, the Elvis. Is Elvis gone? The Beatles music
he's-
from the sixties, is that gone? Did we,
No, that's still there.
where
I
is
didn't
that?
think it was there, but I think we
Where-
said yes, which I didn't
Um,
remember, but I guess we did.
where is that?
Francis Hart is the Beatles guy.
Yeah, where is he?
He's in the,
Six,
Nine-
eight, two, four.
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
we already
Okay.
funded him.
Good. I've done so many outreaches this week and I did 3 videos today for the Hubbardston Vietnam Veterans Memorial, so I'm trying to get my thoughts together. That's good. I'm glad we pointed that out. I spoke with Claudia about that. And she recalled, she said, didn't he come a couple of years ago?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, you know what? We weren't impressed.
Okay.
So I said, oh, okay. She said, I would rather save for another event versus have that event. So I'm glad that that circled around because we had said yes on that. And when I engaged her on the variety of other ones, such as the potentially the ukulele guy, and what else did we think
So
about?
highwaymen.
The highway one. Yeah, she said she'd rather see something new than do the Beatles guy again. So maybe we should reconsider that one, pull it out and use that 275 someplace else.
Yeah, I would agree with that to
Yeah,
go
she
the
must-
275.
Especially since you've got firsthand, you
Yeah,
know,
it's like,
Yeah.
no.
input. I would.
Right.
Yeah.
I like Claudia. She tells
Yeah,
it like it
Yeah,
is.
and he was good. It wasn't that he wasn't good,
Mhm.
but just something different.
And she must have gotten feedback from other
Yeah.
people that attended and said, yeah, okay, but so not to confuse the math, but if we'd like to retract that and put
So
that
we're
money
making him
someplace
a
else.
no.
So is what we're kind of looking at here is the David Malouf versus the Highwaymen? Is this kind of where this one is kind of where we're playing out on this one? Do you think?
I think that's, yeah, if we
Kind
decide,
of one or
Yep.
the other?
Mhm. we want to have something at the senior center because we want to
Mhm.
address that population. That's correct. And so if we now are going to eliminate Francis Hart, what do you think?
Well, what about the Elvis impersonator there, Cormier?
Dennis
he's
is
coming for
definitely,
Christmas.
he's
He'll
doing
be
it
there Christmas.
Christmas. He's going to play Santa Claus. I think I said last week, I had talked with him that day. And that's 175. I think we had,
That's already encumbered
that's already
from a
set
couple of
aside.
years ago. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So we're Ixnay and Francis Hart. So that gives us another 275, is
Mhm.
that? Okay.
I do have a calculator. Yeah.
Yeah, I left my phone
Yeah.
over the house too.
Okay, so what did we have before Donna on that ladder?
1389 and 275.
1389, and now we're gonna add 275 to
Yeah,
that, plus
1664.
275, 1664.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
got. Yeah.
Okay, so now if we go back to the highwaymen versus David Malouf, one is, it's double the money. Malouf is 3.25, and York is 650 with the highwaymen.
Will York do it for less?
Well, he said he would. He said that he would take out the travel fee and the on-site fee.
Yep.
Which brings it down to 400. Because
Mhm.
he's got 250 in there for those things, I think. So
Yeah,
if we,
yeah.
Yeah,
I like the 400. That's my
yeah.
2 cents, 402 cents.
Mhm. I mean, I like the idea of bringing kind of a full prepackaged program to the senior center, rather than saying David Malouf is going to come and he's going to be fun, but we're not quite sure. And I don't think they particularly would be interested in ukulele lessons. So I would go for 400 for the highwaymen, to go to the senior center and hold on to Malouf to see what kind of money we have towards the end.
Agreed.
Good, okay. So let's put aside 400 for the highwaymen. And so if we do minus 400, now we're down at 1264. Okay, so we have $1,264 left. So now, starting from the top of the list, correct me if you're not agreeing with that, going back to Edward Cope, impromptu magic for camping. That would be at the library. They already have a date. And that's the one where she wrote the letter and said that she thought
No,
that
I
was.
think they have a
No,
date for Bates. They don't
Oh,
have a
that's right,
date.
that's
He's the
right,
one
yeah.
with the
mhm,
letter.
Yeah, that's the one with the letter. That's David Bates for
Yeah.
475.
I would go for Bates over Cope.
Okay,
I've not seen Bates, but I really found Cope to be somewhat off-putting to children.
Yep. I think
that was the wizard, right?
Yeah. at
Mhm.
the
That was,
Wizard, yeah.
okay, yeah, I concur.
Yeah, because you were there too, right?
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
Not much
He's-
personality going on. Yeah, he wasn't warm and fuzzy at all.
So do we want to say no on Edward Cope for
Mhm.
450?
Mhm.
And then direct our attention now to Davis Bates for
Mhm.
475?
Now, did Chris
Maybe
say?
cut him down a little, but I don't know.
Well, here's what Chris said. He's going to be here. So whether or not we fund them. So if we cut him down from 475, what do we have for a number? What do you think?
did
Want to say
he,
400?
did he say anything? I'm looking for the comments he made about if we didn't fund him for the full amount.
Well, did she say they would?
Is this the other
Fund-
one that the library said they would fund if we didn't, or if it
Yes,
was a
yes.
partial?
yes.
Okay.
That's
Mhm.
correct.
Is this would this be the only program we're funding at the library?
I think so. I think
I think in
so.
kind of good faith,
I
or
agree.
75, but if we need to cut, we can cut them back if we need to at the end.
That makes
But I
sense.
think good faith would say, go for the full amount since we're turning her down on the pastel and on Edward Cope.
I like that
Okay.
reasoning.
Okay, okay.
Me too.
So we'll go with 475 for the time being. And that will leave us with $789.
Oof.
And the veteran program, the
Mm.
woodworking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. In fact, I did email the woman in charge of the program. I guess they're out of Fort Devens. So they
I
have,
tried calling and I left a message and didn't receive a call back.
yeah, I emailed her, but my fault. It was this afternoon that I emailed and I haven't received anything back either. Where I had a few questions and I asked them in the email. But I was thinking that's in Templeton. How do our veterans know about the program? It's on Facebook, I guess, and I don't know how many people, I know I don't really do Facebook. I don't know if the veterans would be on Facebook, willing to go to Templeton. I mean, I'd rather see something that benefited our veterans in town specifically.
I guess, Donna, what I agree with what you're saying, but I would like to also show our support for veterans and their program. And maybe it's one of those things where we give almost like we did in the past, like a token amount to show that the Hubbardston Cultural Council recognizes the veterans and wants to support them. Even though we can't give them a lot of money, maybe we can give them something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It did look like in rereading the grant that you did complete the flag in one day, like Sarah was saying.
Yeah,
And you do take, I guess you do take it home at the end of the day. I actually found online the program that talks about Build a Flag. It's not listed in their upcoming events, but if you instead Google on Central or Clear Path Build a Flag, it comes
Right.
up, and
right. Which
the
is what I did, yeah.
whole thing talks all about the importance of creative arts for these
Mhm.
veterans and using their left brain
Right,
and the left side of their brain,
yeah,
and
yeah.
how it just kind of tugs at your heartstrings a little bit, how with the PTSD and getting them into a new place, kind of how the arts can be a saving grace for many of them.
Right, a nice escape.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to do something rather than nothing, even no matter how much it is. I'd like to do something.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think they get funding from a lot of other places, so even, like you say, just a little bit of money, because that's kind of all we have left.
789.
Yeah.
Mhm.
we
They
give them something.
also, it concerns me a little, they don't indicate at all how they're gonna publicize this.
Facebook.
Yeah.
That's,
they-
yeah.
They were a little.
But how do you know to go to Facebook is the question. How do
Well,
you
this
find
is-
their
yeah,
page?
well, that's
That's
what I'm
always
asking her,
the
yeah.
outstand. How do you drag people
Right.
to, you know?
Yeah,
And I really like it when people are very specific, like, I'm going to the library on this date and this is what I'm gonna, it
Mhm.
looks like they've really thought it out. But I also totally agree with Lori that we should fund something of this and then maybe see what it's like. And if it's an ongoing program, give them more in the future and see if there's a venue, an avenue or an opportunity for to go see what they do.
And I'm surprised that they didn't mention the outreach center in Gardner, because that would be a perfect way of
Oh, there's a
getting
whole
the
outreach,
word
okay.
out, because I've been there. And
Mm.
they're fairly active, and there's all kinds of things posted as far as upcoming events and so on and so forth. And I don't know, as the Hubbardston Vietnam Veterans Memorial face page, we could use that as an announcement that this is another something for veterans, but to participate in. But I don't think that there'd be an objection if I were to put in a notice that they were going to hold this workshop on a particular day, and all veterans are eligible for that. So
Mm. It's held throughout the year. I got that impression from the
Mhm,
website.
mhm.
So many sessions a week, I guess, and they work with this carpenter in Templeton, who apparently is very good. But
So is a token amount $300?
Can we do
Uh,
it? We've got 789 left and we have the veterans and the David Malouf to split it between. Is that where we are? Or are we, I'm just not
Wasn't
sure.
David-
was David Malouf a no?
Okay,
No, not yet, not yet.
Okay,
Not
that's
yet?
what I wasn't sure.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That's,
No,
I
no.
had him open and then I said, oh, maybe I fell asleep during that part.
No, we've been bouncing back and forth. Those would be the, if I'm not incorrect, those would be the last two that we would
Mhm.
talk about. And then we would be going back on a few that we started at 6 and said maybe we would increase it. So,
What was the part of the conversation then where we said, where we were talking, Sarah was talking about having a set program versus something we don't quite know what it's gonna be with David
That
Malouf?
was highwaymen versus, I think David Malouf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
remember,
was.
Okay,
David
okay.
Malouf is prepared to do whatever we ask him to do.
Mhm.
And that was either the entertainment, a workshop, a combination of both, senior center, field day, fair, very flexible. It wasn't that he was indecisive. It was, I said, are you open to anything that we direct you to? And he said, yeah. Yeah. So I thought that he was cooperative, and when I engaged him at the fair last year, he was very versatile. And he was sort of the Pied Piper, because once a couple of people came, then a few more came. And then I backed off and was watching, as I think I mentioned last week, and they were there, the younger people were there for 10 or 15 minutes. It wasn't like they stopped and just for 2 minutes and then walked away. And that's what I think, that they were engaged enough to stay long enough to try it out. You know, they're at that age, they're kind of embarrassed, but he made them feel comfortable.
Well, would he be better at the fair? Maybe,
Fair or field day.
but
I
field
think
it.
fair or field day is where we get the best bang for our buck.
And we
Yeah.
have enough, we have currently enough money to do Malouf at field day or the fair and give money to the veterans. Is that
We
where we're
do,
at right?
and if we were to decide that we were gonna give the 300 for the veterans plus 325 for Malouf, then we would still have a little bit left over to go back to those ones that we had allocated.
About 150 bucks.
Yeah. So
And then, does that leave us with our administrative money that we're supposed to set aside?
Yeah,
we
I took
still have-
all that out. This is
Oh, thank you.
above and beyond the 6083.
mhm.
And Lori, I apologize. I was out of town this weekend and I haven't gotten you my Facebook receipt. I haven't forgotten you. I was out of town.
And I'm at this, I really, if you just want to send me an email and
It's
I'll.
like 20 bucks.
It was 40, you did it several times, I know. I mean,
Yeah,
it's more
that's
than
true,
20
but-
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway,
a-
I will send you something. I promise. Sorry, I haven't done it.
Okay,
Well,
so
considering,
225.
are we gonna do 325 for David Malouf, and then I'd like to have your input as far as where you'd like him to make his presentation, do his rant.
Which day is the Potter? The Potter's doing, he's doing field day. So I think
No,
we should have
he's
Malouf do the fair.
He's doing the fair,
He's
the
doing the
field
fair.
day, field day.
He's doing the, yeah,
Yeah, the Pied Piper, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe it would be better to put him on a day when at the fair as opposed to
Yep,
field
that's what we
day,
did last year. It was a fair.
because you don't have the music bandstand. You'd have to talk to
With-
Katie to check about that,
Yeah.
but
Mhm. Yep. All right, so I'm saying that's a go for 325 for
Mhm.
David Malouf. So we had, was 789? 789 minus 325.
64.
So that leaves us with $464. And if we were to do the token of 300 for our veterans, and what I would say, if you'll remind me, Donna, that we would like them to do as much outreach as possible and give us the dates for some of the workshops and ask them to reach out to the outreach center in Gardner because they're always open. And then
And
I
if
would
there-
see if I can post it.
If there's any way that you have some of the dates, maybe it can go into the uniquely Quabbin ad so that it can be
Mhm.
seen there as to what the options are, we could list them as something we're sponsoring and
Yep.
some kind of blurb that the programs will be taking place on these to get, and maybe even a contact information or somewhere where they can follow up, but it would be nice to use the uniquely Quabbin as a form of advertisement too for it.
There's
Yeah, we've got to give
also,
them a lot of lead time.
there's
to get an
also a
entry.
veteran center at Mount Wachusett Community College.
Ah, okay.
Oh, wow.
next
I
town
remember
over.
when the Vietnam Memorial was there.
Mhm.
I wanted to make a pitch for giving the 464 to the veteran workshop. We have the two that we were going to come back to were the Country Western Band for recreation, for field day.
That's correct. Yeah.
And it sounds like the Lions Club would be willing to, pitch in for the remaining 200 that we wouldn't be covering if we left it at the 600. And then for the listening center, they also have other sources of support. And we've certainly given them a decent amount of money considering the volume of children that serves. So I'd be comfortable leaving them both where we were and giving the whole 464 remainder to the veteran program. It's unique. It's a population that we're not serving in any other ways. And it's certainly a population that I think would really benefit from this kind of program. So that's my 2 cents.
Well
Well
taken.
said.
And I would like to, that's one I'd like to follow up on to see how many veterans came and maybe have a chance to talk to one of them and see what they thought about and find out literally when the workshop is and maybe one of us can be there just to
Mhm.
observe. That's one that we certainly have an all agreement we want to participate in. And so I would be comfortable with 464 going that way.
And how much did we allocate to the program at the school? Was that 1,000?
1,000
Yeah.
even. Yep.
Mhm.
So that's the most single that we gave to any program, is that correct?
That's correct, unless you want to talk
Yes.
about the combination of last year and this year for
Oh, to the
the
animals.
animals. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm very comfortable with that being our biggest chunk.
Yeah.
It serves a lot of children and supports the PTO and keeps us local and all that kind of stuff.
And that, in my mind, would have been the only other option if we put the 164 someplace would be there. But it is $1,000, which is a lot of money. So I could go either way with where those last few dollars went.
And there's
I like
one
that both
that we can
programs
have-
sound good.
Yeah.
And there's another one I'd love to see how that works out. I'd like to
Yep.
see how it gets embraced. I'd like to see how it gets kicked off and like to have some feedback from parties involved because my sense is that will be asked again, that
Mhm.
they'll probably put in future grants. So,
Mm,
all right.
mhm.
So let's go with the 464 for the therapy workshop for the veterans. I think
I think
that
we have to take it on faith for some of these, that they're, people are going to show up, do what we need them to do. And it's always been a live and learn
Yeah.
situation with these programs.
Mhm.
We've
Hit or
had
miss.
some that we've,
Mhm.
learned.
We didn't hear from
Um,
our plant guy this year. What
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
guy?
He didn't bother this year, right? Or did?
No,
I don't think so,
No.
no. No.
That was
But
my
he
favorite.
contacts me periodically because he's having some kind of event and he wants me to promote it or us to promote it for him. And
Oh,
I'll
nice.
say, "Mm."
Sure.
'Cause I asked him why he contacted me for one that was out in Brimfield or something. And he said, oh, I'd like you to promote it for me. I went, okay.
Can I interrupt? Can I, just as an aside, bringing up that program that was a while ago, you know, Kathy from Ladybug Farm, her
Mm.
husband just died.
Yes.
Oh.
2 days ago, sometime
Oh,
within the last
no.
week.
Oh,
And
no.
a young man.
So, pardon?
Isn't he in his 60s?
I don't think he was very old.
No,
No,
he was younger
um,
man. Mhm.
Do you know if it was a sudden thing, Lori, or?
I don't know. I remember talking to her on the farm, where it sounded like she did all the work on the farm. So I don't
Oh,
know. if
yeah,
he
that's,
had-
yeah, but he was, when I talked to her a couple of years ago, I mean, he was still like.
Working full-time or
going-
something.
Mhm. Yeah, he was like maybe an engineer or something like that.
So I guess it's just kind of sad, but if you think of it, we can support, you know, I see nothing from Ladybug Farm, but she, I mean, Joyce made a comment because they're both very active in the Historical Society in town. She's the vice president and he had an active role. And she put something out to the society that he had passed. And it's just very, very sad, very, you know, but anyways.
Yeah, I
Oh.
think it wasn't a brain cancer. I think he had some kind of a brain cancer.
Oh,
mm.
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
are very bad.
Those can move very fast also.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Patty's
Oh,
going to
that's-
the funeral.
Yeah, one of
Mm.
my employees knew him well, knew the both of them well, and the services are December
December 1st.
1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. She asked me for time off, so. Okay, now, Donna, are you comfortable with all the numbers? As
Yeah, I
far
have-
as,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. with-
okay, and you think we have them all recorded? Shall we go down the list one time for the sake of our treasurer and Donna?
And can I just ask, is Claudia at the senior center, is she pretty good at Bill and Lori keeping you updated when the programs come? Because I'd be, you know, the Beatles thing, we know what that is like, but, you know, saying we're going to fund the highwaymen, I'd be interested either to attend if I was able, or to see if we could have someone there or input from them.
My only
you-
input or knowledge is from the point of view of being a senior. Um,
You are?
I don't
Oh.
have any direct connection with her. So I get the, you know, the senior newsletter, which will advertise everything that's going on. But I don't have a direct line to Claudia or anything, but I can keep my eyes open for it because there is a newsletter that they email out on a regular basis.
And
Mhm.
if you go online and you go to Hubbardston, Mass, and you look for our calendar events, it's on
It's
there.
on there.
And I
Mm.
also serve on the Memorial Day committee with her. So I've had much more interaction, so I can also mention that to her. And she knows that we want to, she's not aware that we're selecting them, so we're gonna, and we gotta let Matt know that he's been approved, and so he has to reach out and make those details, and so, but the answer is yes, that's one, I think we really want to be there for a number of these to make our own
So
conscious decision pertaining
we
to.
should be supplying her with a list of the approved grants that are taking place at the senior center.
Yep, and that would be Matt York, and what other one?
Santa.
Yeah, Santa she
Yeah,
knows about,
she's-
because I spoke with her last week about that. And that's it? That's
Oh,
it?
Laura Foley is doing her.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Laura Foley, yeah. Okay.
And then the PTO thing,
Yeah.
right? Oh, that's center
Yeah.
school.
Donna, can you take care of letting
Claudia?
Claudia
Yeah,
know
I-
about those
Yeah,
two?
I'll call her.
Okay, all right, so let's go down the list. And I think I've kept notes, but fill me in if I haven't. So the highwaymen, we've approved for $400. We said no to Edward Cope. We said no to Maycheck. We approved Davis Bates for $475. We approved David Malouf for $325. we approved the animal meet and greet for the full amount. We all know about the math there, but we allocated $344 from our current budget for that. The veterans, $464. The Uniquely Quabbin, $250. The Children's Parade, $400. The Juggler, $450. The Potter's Wheel, $375. The Listening Center for $600. The Country Western Band for $600. The Fitchburg Art Museum for $200. Francis Hart is now out. The Hubbardston PTO is $1,000. And Laura Foley is $200. That jive? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
And-
what about Henry the Juggler? I thought we funded him.
He is, yeah, he's there.
He's there?
450, yeah. Yeah, that's Richard Hamlin,
No,
375.
he's not.
Henry,
and
Henry
Lappin,
Lapin.
Yeah, above it, yeah, Lapin, 450, that's what I thought he was, yeah. Okay, so, Donna, I asked you, did you find out when we have to notify people? Was there a
Oh,
timeline specifically when we had to send out I know that we send out the rejection letters first, they have 2 weeks to respond. But does anybody remember if it was a particular date?
well, it was mid-January.
Okay, so we don't
Mid to
have
late
to send them out
January.
now.
Right.
Mhm. So we're in good shape. Can you think of anything else we need to talk about this evening?
Just that you have a good time in Aruba.
Thank
I
you.
think Chronicle was there last night. I was watching, no,
really?
I was watching that bizarre, the travel program with the cook, and he was in Aruba talking to
Ah, yeah.
food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we promised to have a good time. We'll have to work hard at that. Have a good time, yeah. Mhm.
I don't wish
Promise not
flying on anybody.
to work too
Um,
hard.
Yeah, double mask up and whatever.
Yep, we
Yeah.
have a booster shot and we have to get tested 3 days before and we have to fill out a form. But you just go through the process and
go
stay
through it.
safe and they, of any place I know, they have been extremely conservative and they have a very, very low incidence rate. And if you don't do the things that they want, they put you in a side room and you get quarantined and you could spend your first 3 or 4 days of the vacation in a hotel room. And I don't think you can see the water from that hotel room. So if you're not smart enough to follow the protocol, it's your own fault. So,
Mhm.
all right, well, Donna and I would like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and
Thank
upcoming
you.
holidays and
You too.